not here though. 4.2, teaching and learning presentation.
Well, as soon as Sean gets here, we'll jump up and back with him because I know he has to get over to Spring Hill. But just a few teaching and learning things. First, our fall sports, they have concluded, and this week is buffer week, especially at the high school. So, but we had very successful fall sports. One thing I want to share is Ty had sent this to us. So when we played Spring Hill here, the officials through Acacia Portal and email, they can, it's called Officials Report on Unusual Situations. So sometimes that can be bad, you know, so when you see it, you hold your breath. But this actually wasn't. So this is, and probably many of you were at that game. Of course, we lost by 1 point, good game. But the officiating crew just said, players and coaches from both teams demonstrated great sportsmanship towards the officials. The hospitality by Louisburg was awesome. The ladies from Spring Hill, so I assume the managers, who brought us water at every break were great. My crew really enjoyed being at this contest, and we look forward to experiencing and working these two teams again in the future. There was a Topeka crew. Well, one guy was from Perry, 4 of the guys were from Topeka. So that's always nice to hear. So Amy and Ty had shared that with me. FFA went to nationals. So we had 2 teams, both in the gold division. The food science team was 9th overall. That's throughout the nation. That was Evan Moreland, Logan Stevens, Lila Edwards, and Hannah Basor. And then the horticulture team consists of Aaron Apple, AJ Fire, Lillian Martin, and Kylie Ballman. So, see, you know, our FFA crew led by Jim and Shade always do a great job. Many of you were at the veterans programs today. Always exciting, great tradition, well attended. Probably the first one was 5 through 12, a little long. Allison has already said that next year that she thinks they'll do a K-5 and then a 6-12. It'll help balance out the times. It'll, you know, that younger grade ones is always larger. So it can hold them, but not on the one side. More people will probably have to go on the other side as well. But so next year, definitely have it on Veterans Day. I assume Veterans Day is on a school day. If it's not, we'll still have it on the next day. But overall, it was great. Had the Chief Justice there, who they're already getting the auditorium ready for tomorrow's event. So that starts at 6:30. There's a little reception before, or dinner before, and then a reception afterwards. Chief Justice spoke at both programs today. The 512 one was probably, you know, she actually knew her audience. If you attended both, you heard that. I mean, she talked to more elementary at the K4 one, and then more probably higher level at the other one. But talked to her a little bit before. She's from Goodland, Kansas, she had said. So Kansas lady her entire life, and but it was great. Senior Citizen program is next Tuesday, and so that's always another great tradition. If you haven't heard, Broadmoor was selected to be a part of the Ruby Payne. Not Ruby Payne.
Bridges.
Yes, sorry. I knew as soon as I said that wasn't right. Ruby Bridges event next week. Lanny, Rob, and I were able to listen to her live last year in New Orleans, and what a story. If you don't know about her, very similar to like the Brown versus Topeka Board of Education, but she lived in New Orleans, and so she went to an all-white school, just showed up and had to deal with that, and so an incredible woman, and so that'll be really exciting for Broadmoor to listen to next Thursday as well. This Thursday. Sorry, I'm getting
You're
that.
right.
Not Ruby Payne, and it's this Thursday. Ruby Bridges. The last second, and Sean's here. Lindsay Kreiser and Angela Good are teachers of the year. That's Region 3, so it's now by congressional district of the U.S. House. So that's Sharice David's territory. So it's kind of Miami County, Johnson County, a lot of Franklin County, and then down Garnett all the way like to Colony Crest is kind of her territory. So they will compete with those school districts in April, and if they get that, like I see Miss Norberg back there, she was able to move on, and so we're excited. Hopefully Lindsay and Angela, both great teachers, both Louisburg Wildcat graduates. hopefully they're able to do that as well. So just a few things. Sean, I tried to kill a little time, so, but Sean Gordon has been our auditor for a while. It is his practice. Before that, he was working with Meisenhauser, who did our auditing as well. Meisenhauser decided to get out of the school auditing business, and Sean, and we're so glad, has continued that. He also is going over to Spring Hill, USD 230, and presenting their audit tonight as well. So, Sean, just take it away, and it's up on the screen too, and Jenny will just follow you along.
Sounds good. My name is Sean Gordon with Gordon CPA. We performed the fiscal year 24 audit of the district, so I'll go through the report that I've handed to you. We'll start with pages 1 through 3. This is called the Independent Auditor's Report. One more page forward right there. The Independent Auditor's Report. Here we discuss the opinion that we issued, the district's financial statements, and then we discuss management of the district and the board members' responsibilities for the financial statements, and then a few more of our responsibilities as auditors. Kind of the most important paragraph on this page is page 1, the third paragraph down. Right there, you'll see an italicized heading called Unmodified Opinion on Regulatory Basis of Accounting. This paragraph says that we issued the highest and cleanest opinion we could issue under state and federal guidelines for the district's financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2024. So that reflects very well on the financial and internal control management by district staff during that time period. The next section forward is page 4. And this is called the Summary Statement of Receipts, Expenditures, and Unencumbered Cash. Here you'll see in the left-hand column all of the different funds that the district has, followed by beginning cash of each of those funds, receipts, expenditures, and then ending cash. At the very bottom of that right-hand column, you'll see the district reported a little over $13.1 million, $13,159,000 cash on hand as of June 30th, 2024. The next section forward is pages 5 through 11. And these are the notes to the financial statements. Here you'll see different accounting policies, information presented on different accounting policies that the district follows, information on deposits and investments, involvement in the Capers retirement program, interfund budgeted transfers that were made during the year. Like I said, numerous items discussed here, including long-term debt information of the district as well. No major changes required by the state in this section, so it's mostly the same as what some of you have seen over the past few years. The next section forward starts on page 12 and runs through page 39. And these are just more detailed breakouts of those funds that we saw previously on page 4. In this section, we include the prior year information, so you can see how a fund operated compared to fiscal year 2023. You'll also see if it was a budgeted fund, how it performed against the budget that was adopted for fiscal year 24 as well. And then the last section I want to point out starts on page 40, page 40, and this is called the governmental audit section. Louisburg School District has seen this section on and off pretty much since COVID began in fiscal year 20. Anytime an entity spends and receives $750,000 or more of federal grant money, it's required to undergo a special audit. For fiscal year 2024, we focused on the grant program, ESSER, or Education Stabilization Fund. We looked at those expenditures, made sure the district met all state and federal regulations regarding how those grant monies can be spent during the year. So for this, we also issued an unmodified opinion, which again is the highest and cleanest opinion that we can issue. So that reflects very well on how the district managed that grant program during the year. And then with that, that takes you to the end of the document. If there are any questions on any of that, please let me know.
Did we receive a management letter?
I don't believe there was a management letter this year. Is that correct? No. So that would have been a clean audit at everything that we looked at. sort of, and including some internal control procedures that we typically look at too, that all went well for the district this year.
You know, and all I would say is, yeah, always in July, it's a little smaller, but I show an estimated cash balance in July, because we, you know, have to close our books down in July, and then we wait until Sean comes and his team, and they're in here and going through all the books and everything. And then we always get audited numbers, and, you know, for the millions of dollars that flow through, I mean, obviously that estimated's never going to be right on. That's why anyone hires auditors to come in, but it's very, very close. And I just say that because it just shows how, in my opinion, Katie, Jenny, and Kristen, those three primarily work with all the money and do a very good job. So, you know, back on that one where Sean was saying the cash, but the unencumbered cash, so, you know, we shared that we'd have like $9.7 million, $6,000, came in at 9,755. So out of almost $10 million, $48,900 difference of what we shared in July to now. That is less than 0.5%. And so I just wanted to share that. Obviously, I'm very proud of our fiscal team in the district. They are able to present you very almost actual. In fact, the only few that changed, we had a little change in capital outlay, and food service was a little bit different as well. Other than that, what Katie and then I showed you in July was to the dollar, and so very exciting. And sometimes those happen, like, I mean, we have an open PO that just didn't get closed, or something like that. And so it's just minor things that when the auditors come in and work with Katie and staff and figure that out. But kudos to them, because I imagine Sean works with some entities and those numbers aren't that close.
Correct.
So, you know, off almost a $10 million cash balance that we're off $48,900 to me is commendable. And so I just wanted to publicly say that I appreciate the staff we have, and I hope you guys do as well, because that's pretty incredible to be that close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Sean, appreciate it. And then by Kansas statute, this will go and be published on our website, so Jim, you will get that under our budget documents, so this audit will be for everyone to see on our website as well.
Okay, moving on, 4.3, 2025-2026 calendar discussion.
Okay, we met last week and we have another meeting next week, and so Jennifer and Sarai represent the board on the calendar committee. And so what you have in its front and back, it's draft A and draft B, and so just wanted to kind of share the high points that we heard in our first meeting. And then, so if there is anything the board wants us to discuss, we have a meeting scheduled for next Tuesday. And then the goal would be to,
Hand that back.
that's just FFA thing. I wonder where that went. I'll just shout out to FFA. Nothing that you can't see. But thank you. It was in the calendar file. But if you look at, and draft A, so if you see where it says 2025, 2026 school calendar right in the middle and it says draft A, it is really a carbon copy of our calendar this year, as far as when we were starting. But obviously the dates float. And so if we were to adopt draft A, it's getting really early in August where staff start. In fact, our new staff come back 2 days earlier. It's in their contract. So our new staff to the district, we would actually welcome them back in July. And so that's the difference of that one. And then if you look at draft B, it's just moving the calendar 2 days And so, and Dave spearheads our new teacher induction. So our new staff to the district, whether you're a veteran teacher, but you're coming from Spring Hill or wherever, or you're a first-year teacher out of Emporia, you would start on August 4th. And our all staff, so my district convocation, would be on Wednesday, August 6th. So collectively, on that point, the calendar committee liked B. They were in agreement that, wow, that's getting really early to start in August. It's kind of not a written rule, but, and Jen and Sarai have been on this for a while, our teachers always look at the end of year because they always want to strive to hopefully be finished before Memorial Day. In both calendars, including option B, so option A, they would have, their last day would have been on May 20th on Wednesday. This one gets them out a half day on Friday, May 22nd. Memorial Day is a little early, in 26 is May 25th. So what they're doing is they're having building meetings and discussing this with staff. Another thing that was discussed was, February 4th, that is parent-teacher conferences. Would they potentially want to move that back a week, so like February 11th? So if they do move, they want to move to February 11th, then February 4th would be a regular school day. Easter in April of 2026 is on Sunday, April 5th. And so we have not been a school district that has taken off, but Christians was, Good Friday, which would be Friday the 3rd. We could move that green date that you see on the 17th to the 3rd if the board would like us to take that back to the committee. Prom is scheduled for April 18th. So we have kind of been having the Friday off before prom. With the Haven, we kind of have that locked in for 5 years. So we do know when prom is going to be. And obviously we can look up when Easter is going to be. Easter, as you know, can float lots of different times. It was brought up here last year about, and we said we would follow through, is looking at the CASA calendar as well, making sure there's no conflicts, especially with swimming. And so we did look at that. So, and the board wanted graduation to be posted on the calendar. So you can see whether it's A or B, graduation for the high school in 2026 will be on May 16th. There's no CASA conflicts on that day. So that's kind of what we agreed. We can look at that annually as well. So Jennifer, did I miss any?
So I think just on the April date, teachers kind of, I think, didn't want those. I don't think they'll move it up because it'll just gets really close to, they were just after spring break. So that's kind of the thing. They said they wouldn't want to keep that probably on the 17th. But I'm pretty sure we'll come back with B.
Yes.
But I think everybody will do, I think.
And they do appreciate having the other kind of thing that's kind of been tradition. They do appreciate, maybe one of these years they're not going to be able to get it, but they do like having 3 weekends over winter break. There will be some schools, now probably not this year with, as you see Christmas in this calendar, there might be a school that goes the 22nd and 23rd. I know last year, I think when Christmas is on a Friday, so even Paola, I think, went on that Monday and Tuesday. But teachers do appreciate kind of having 3 weekends. So if they do need to get out of town, they know they still have the weekend, but as far as scheduling, going to grandma's house 6 hours away before Christmas or after, they do appreciate it. This calendar has that as well. The staff would not come back until Monday, January 5th. So just wanted to share with you, kind of that's the process. Next Tuesday, finalize it if we can by that, and then bring it to you December 9th for approval. What you're seeing at the T's and S's, that's teacher days, student days, so just kind of the math on how many teacher days there are, how many student days per semester per quarter. That's what that is. That'll go away. We'll make it look nicer. And this calendar format can be, Mr. Sarai is the one that wanted to go to this one. So,
Everyone likes it.
yes, and they actually said that, no, you weren't able to join us. And we were able to look, so like, for example, Spring Hill and Blue Valley already had their calendars approved, so we were able to look at theirs and see if they had things in there. the board doesn't have anything, we just wanted to make sure we were sharing with you or taking back any suggestions or thoughts you may have. Well, thank you. And if you do, let Ryan or I know, as we work through this, and I'll give you updates in the board in my notes if something comes up next week.
Okay, 4.4, soccer schedule.
I asked for this to be on the agenda. Appreciate everybody allowing that to be done. In boys soccer, men's soccer, in the East region, which Louisburg is part of, there's 17 teams. 7 of those are private schools. And you'll notice a big difference in competition levels when you go south from here. You know, Louisburg played Parsons, Pittsburgh came here, the school from down there. Independence pretty salty. Pittsburgh's pretty decent. Some of the other schools are really struggling. You can catch a few around here where Louisburg's pretty competitive with. When you go north, get inside the, around the 435 loop, a lot of those teams are made up of kids that are playing competitive soccer all year round. I mean, they've got a high skill level. Played Spring Hill, lost 8-0, I believe. We had 17 games. The last one was Blue Valley. That was a 6A. It was 8-0. And you can see the kids' faces when they come off the field when the game's called 20 minutes short. And whether it's kind of an informal practice or however it's done, it doesn't seem that we play private schools during the year. And I want to do what's best for our student athletes. And if it happens to be that it's better for them to play a private school, I think we should open it up to them. If, not all of the schools are like Bishop Miege or St. James. They've probably Louisburg could compete with a few of those very well. But I would just like to see us have that option to schedule a private school during the regular season if that's what's best for our kids. So that's my request.
A couple comments, and I'll take responsibility. I have worked with all the athletic directors that I've worked with here, have suggested that we don't schedule private schools. I feel like this community doesn't like when we play private schools. I mean, you guys hear and see that. So the ADs have followed my request. Spring Hill does the same thing. I think there are other schools that we can look at playing in soccer, specifically Fort Scott, Atchison, KCK 5A schools, DeSoto. We already play Leavenworth, Lansing, and Baser Linwood in that league. DeSoto's in that league. Piper's in that league. We don't play Piper. Let's jump across state line. Let's play Harrisonville, Pleasant Hill. We play Harrisonville in basketball. They come to our track meets. We know how we want change when it comes to private schools. It's my standpoint. Now, we play private schools when we go to a tournament and we don't have control over it. We play private schools in case of playoffs. But when we have control and there are teams, especially close teams that we can play, I want our kids to be able to have a good season. I want our kids to be able to win. So, yeah, did we need to play Blue Valley this year? No, but Ty work on getting someone else, all those other schools I listed. We used to play Fort Scott in soccer, and I know there's scheduling conflicts, so I don't know exactly what happened with that as well. Because private schools are different than public schools. They can reload a lot quicker, it seems like, than public schools. We load up on some private schools. I don't know if that helps our record. I don't know if that helps. It's like, right, I mean, we're not winning all the games now. So we're at 9-9, so show that we have a pretty good schedule right now. Going 17-0, 16-1, we thought we needed, and then get beat in the playoffs. We thought we needed to up our game, which I'm proud. We had an improvement. We won 4 games last year, 9 this year, 8 or 9, so that's great. But if the board wishes to do that, then I can work on that. I assume we'd be talking girls soccer as well. Does the board want to, entertain that we do all sports? Is it just soccer? And where we draw the line, do we go pick up a lesser private school, but don't schedule Miege, St. James, and Aquinas? So one of the private schools, Heritage Christian, they don't have football. Bishop Seabury and Lawrence. So, but if that's the board's wishes, we can look at that. It won't be overnight as schedules are coming in. This year we haven't played Baldwin 3 times. We were going to play in the playoffs. Baldwin's good this year. The public schools have ebb and flows. So, but we don't play, maybe we play Paola twice instead of Baldwin. The competition's not quite there. As I looked at a lot of schools that we beat this year, they did not fare well against private schools. So Baldwin fared well against private schools. They're really good. They got 3rd place, beat Bishop Miege in 3rd place. But the schools we actually beat, the public schools, when I looked at their records against private schools, was not very good. So
Have we talked to our coaches about their thoughts on that?
I personally haven't. I think Ty's had conversations with Bobby on the boys. I don't know even on the girls if you
I'd
have.
say both are in favor of having the ability to schedule private schools.
I went back and on the girls' side, the last time the public school won the state championship in our classification was 2005. So it's been a private school every year since 2005. And in boys, it's like Rose Hill won a couple back in 2014 and 15, but other than that, it's been private school ever since. I mean, it's been all over the place, anywhere from Kansas City Christian to St. James to Wichita Trinity, Topeka Hayden. I don't know. I mean, I'm not against.
They don't follow, I mean, do they follow unification rules then?
Well, yeah. The only ones that, if there's like a homeschool, like there's a school in the metro called Metro Academy. So that's a bunch of homeschool kids to get together and play. But the private schools, yeah, they're a member of CASHA and the classifications. So now in soccer, it's 4 to 1A. So even a small private or public school could have a soccer. But,
Well, actually, we did play a private school. I mean, is Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh-Colgan, are they a combined
yeah,
team?
they're a co-op. Yeah, they're.
Because it lists, that's what
Yeah,
it
so we
listed
didn't play St. Mary's Colgan. We played Pittsburgh that allows St. Mary's Colgan kids to play on
Okay.
with the Purple Dragons.
So they follow, I mean, they're following all the exact same rules as far as like policies and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of question I had.
The only thing I remember years ago, Bishop Miege, when we started playing them years ago, we could beat them. But it depends on your administration at those schools and their coaches. When it gets certain coaches, all of a sudden they change their idea of who they can get and how they go about it. That's the only thing I don't like about the private schools. I mean, some that we think be real competitive may change their way of enrolling and giving scholarships wherever they do. That's the only thing that bothers me about those. I don't know.
I agree. I feel like we're taking a step back
Yeah.
I mean, all the things that people complain about private schools, now we're negating that for the soccer program.
But as Ty said, if the coaches would like to play some certain private schools, I mean, doesn't mean we have to schedule Miege and Aquinas. I mean, we could schedule like Heritage and.
Have we had any communication with any of those schools and see if they would even, if they're interested in playing us at all?
Heritage
No.
Christian was looking for games recently,
Yeah.
and the games that they were that they had open would replace our Blue Valley game or our extra bowling game that we had to end this year, so that's kind of, it allows for some flexibility to, you know, adjust.
Here's the thing one thing you have to look at. We don't have a lot of options who to schedule because there's not a lot of schools in 4A and below that have soccer. So that puts Ty at a disadvantage, obviously, because he can't just go. It's the pool's smaller, so obviously we have our league schools.
Playing 16 games.
I mean, you know, we say or talk about I think if it's the best interest of the kids, like if it's better for our soccer team to schedule, say, Heritage Christian one year instead of Blue Valley, I think that would.
That's all I'm asking for, is that we give the athletic director the flexibility to do that if it's in the best interest of the kids. I mean, for years, you know, we'd make decisions based upon what's best for our kids. I'm not hearing that in this discussion.
That's what I mean, I kind of, as I'm hearing it, like, I mean, this year, if we were gonna play team, and maybe we get waxed by Heritage Christian too, or, you know what I'm saying? I don't know where those
And then
teams are at.
They were good this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah,
And this year, like, Blue Valley was our last minute addition. We were only gonna play 15 games, okay, because we couldn't find anybody to fill the schedule. You know, and we can say we can go try to schedule these other teams, but if it doesn't work with their schedule, if they don't wanna play us, sometimes you're just stuck. And so that, we were stuck at 15 games, and then that's when Blue Valley came open and offered that to the coaches, like, well, a game is better than no games.
I mean, if you look at the top 8 in our side of the bracket, number 2 was Kansas City Christian, number 4 was Olathe Heritage Christian, number 5 was Bishop Miege, number 7 was Bishop Ward, so.
So like hearing that, is it the best in?
I
in the
don't know, I
best
mean,
interest
there
of the
are
kids to
lesser
play all
ones,
those
but they
kids?
are farther away. You got Atchison, Marhill, you have Lawrence, Bishop, Seabury. And then, I don't know, Marnock Academy is in Shawnee, so I get, there are teams out there, but
I would say that's been the reason is we have thought about, or I have thought about the best interest of our kids, and it's not to play private schools. We were a 500 team this year. We replaced public schools with private, and we think we're going to improve that record. I've listed, I mean, Piper, they were in our league. They're a small 5A. We're jumping across state line, Harrisonville and Pleasant Hill, those others. So I'm not saying let's go pick up, a Lee Summit school, but.
I mean, I look at Marana, I don't know how to say this, Marana Christian Academy.
can be good.
They had a horrible record, but their only wins were the 2 public schools they played, which was Pale and Atchison.
But in the East Regional, Louisburg had a seed points of .470, so I'm thinking maybe that's wins against losses.
Right.
But so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Louisburg's ranked 8th. Chanute's next. Then you have Atchison, Marhill, Lawrence, Bishop, Seabury, and Shawnee, Maranatha. And each one of those teams won 4 games. So it's, I agree we shouldn't play some of the top tier teams, but it just sounds bad when we're saying we're not going to play private school. I mean, we're lumping them all together for what a few of them are doing. And, and then our kids have to, go face a 5A team. There are some really good 5A teams. And they're trying to fill out the bracket for 16 teams, but I'd like to give the authority to the athletic director. If it's in the best interest of the school or of the kids, that they can do that.
I just see it as, on one hand, everyone's saying we don't want to play these kids in these schools in certain sports. Now that it's okay to play them in this sport, and Keisha is going to say, oh, it's okay sometimes, but not other times. I mean, to me, that sounds like, okay, these schools are complaining, but now they're willing to do it for certain sports. And to me, that sounds like we're saying on one hand, it's okay, on the other hand, it's not. It's kind of like conflicting I don't know,
Messaging.
position or whatever we're saying on that.
Everybody else plays private schools except for Spring Hill in soccer. You know, I heard in volleyball, they play private schools. So I mean, we're kind of an anomaly if we're not gonna play private school ever. Except when we get to regionals, or, you know, get to state. But
How does that work as far as going across state lines?
That's fine.
It's same. I mean, you could literally be, my thought is if that's, if you have the option, you know, across Harrisonville or Heritage Christian, whoever we need to play to build the best schedule, that would give us the most leeway, right?
Yeah, so it
I'm not saying, I don't think it should be cross state lines or, you know, private school, you know, neither nor or something, you know, I think.
But all border communities in Kansas play, you know, if you're out west, you're gonna play Colorado schools, south Oklahoma, north Nebraska.
Yeah.
When we play
We do it in
Harrisonville,
basketball.
yeah, Pleasant Hill, we've started to play them more. Those are just two kind of schools our size. Obviously, I'm not suggesting
close.
Belton's getting big. I mean, Belton used to not be, but Belton is a big school now, so, but those are two on the east side. I mean, heck, we invite small schools to our track meets in Missouri, Drexel, a lot of those, Archie, some of those come to our track meets, Cass Midway.
I mean, I think if we could prioritize it, like if we would ideally like to see it all public schools and build it with competition that is gonna be best for the kids and develop the program, but also have the leeway to go cross borders or go, I mean, I think that's the best interest of the kids.
not private schools.
No, I'm just saying that also if private schools is available, like if that's, you know what I'm saying, if we like, if the board's like, hey, we wanna do, you know, let's try to prioritize, this is our priority. But in a given year, you might have to go, maybe we have one or two private schools in there. Next year, and I don't know how it goes year to year. If it's, is it contracted like so many years?
Is it a 2-year deal still?
Usually. that's
2
what it
years.
was, yeah.
I mean,
So you're saying private school would be like the last resort?
yeah, I mean, I
like
think we
the-
could prioritize.
Like we are
I mean,
currently doing that. If you watched our football schedule this year, we played private schools because on the sub varsity,
Yeah.
because a lot of our league schools, even though they're bigger schools than us, have smaller football programs. So if you went to any of our sub varsity football games, we played private schools because we want to give kids games. So we did do what you're suggesting with Ty and Michael and Jeremy and, you know, you name the ADs, that's how they are prioritizing. They're not.
That's,
Well, if that's
That's
the way
how
we're
it's-
doing it, I'd make a motion to do what Sarai said.
I got a question, and I don't know if you know this or not, Ty, but like, say like a school like Kansas City Christian, which I'm assuming they're like 1 or 2A, but they're pretty good in soccer. Do they have JV teams, or, I mean, would that create another conflict in scheduling where you're gonna have to find a JV team now?
And knows soccer a little bit better than they do those schools. I'm assuming they do have.
In
those
the past, they have both levels.
They have.
Sometimes you might
I mean, they don't have
might
football,
wanna
so
have
I'm
a
assuming,
football game. Those programs usually have more CJ.
I mean, I see your point too, Brian. The problem I see is with soccer is the small number of schools that actually play soccer. And it makes it difficult for you to schedule.
Well, if, you know, what I understand, Fort Scott won't play us. Parsons doesn't have a JV team.
Well, Fort Scott may have to play us if they join our league though. Because they're trying to join our league. Where are we on that?
Another meeting coming up. We're still 1 year away because we're in the first, we just finished the first year of football. But, you know, Spring Hill has told us they're leaving. So we need to get,
Is there the possibility that we're gonna add Fort Scott and Atchison, or is it just gonna be one or the other?
they would both love to join, so.
Well, I mean, I don't know, I mean, since we lost Piper, it's created a problem with football. Why don't we just add both of them? And that,
Yeah, what hurt us in
That problem.
football is Piper won, that's, when Piper left us, that's how we got the Rogers, Arkansas game. And then when Baldwin last second said they weren't playing us, so now this year, that's why we played Wichita West and Clay Center. Because of the Piper fallout from a couple years ago and now Baldwin. Baldwin has told us, they'll kind of let us know every 2 years, so I don't think they've told us yet.
Well,
They have
it's-
tried to get out. I know they want to get to what's called the Pioneer League, which is your Garnett's, Prairie View, Burlington, Santa Fe Trail. That league will not let them in because now they're the Spring Hill of that league. They're the big school in that league. Yeah, Spring Hill has given us notice they're leaving. Is Spring Hill going to join the ECAL or the United Kansas League with like Leavenworth, Lansing, Turner, some of those Topeka schools, Baser, Linwood, DeSoto, I don't know.
Was next year our last game of Spring Hill
Yes. As far as in the league,
in the league,
you
right?
know, potentially we
Okay.
still play them. Some sports, just like we still play. We play a lot of those Northern 5As. We play Baser in about every sport except football, not basketball. We played them in volleyball, played them in soccer, probably girls. They're on the girls soccer. We play Leavenworth, which is bounced between a 6A and 5A. And I don't know if we've exhausted, like, as, you know, the Atchison, the KCK5 is DeSoto, Piper. We're looking, but if I'm hearing, so the boards that we would try to exhaust playing Kansas public schools and see if some close Missouri public schools would play us. If not, then fill the schedule with a potential private school. Is that-
That's the motions on it, so that's on the table.
In soccer. Right,
I mean, that's a sport,
yeah.
I mean, I think,
Is that,
and that's kind of what we do in other, like, right, in other sports, so it's how you say, I mean. Have like.
Well, another
rules.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
does it need to be a motion?
probably the
I mean, like, do we
outlier
have
is,
something that
is
says that?
sub varsity and like football, where we have problems finding JV and freshman teams, some of our schools we played, or if we're going to Wichita West, we don't want the JV to have to travel out to Wichita West or play center or whatever.
Because in basketball in the past, I think Mr. Pickman was the AD last time this came up, maybe when Ty took over. When we were hosting our basketball tournament, well, last year, wasn't it, Ty? We needed a school, and so what private school did we invite?
It was a
It
home
was
school.
a Topeka
Oh,
homeschool.
so it was a Topeka homeschool, kind of like the Metro Academy up here. And so we did do that in basketball, because we tried to get that basketball tourney going, and that's the thing, then when the ADs go ask Chanute and others, they'll say, well, we're in this tournament one more year, here you can have our boys, Gerard will say, here you can have the girls, so it's kind of in that gray area until we really get rolling with it, so.
Mr. President, there's a motion on the table. I think it'd be appropriate to ask for a second. It'll either live or die, and then it lives, we'll vote on it. If
Well, I
not-
think we go back to what Jennifer was asking, because she was asking if we even needed a motion.
Well, it's already been made, you gotta,
Yeah, there is a motion on the table,
so you got
so.
Did you make a motion?
I
Who
didn't-
technically
I
made
didn't
a
say what I
motion?
said.
Huh?
Who technically made the
I don't
motion?
know that I
I
did.
did,
Pat made the motion.
twice.
Okay, so can you repeat your motion, Pat, so if you want a formal?
I would move that the USD 416 in scheduling soccer games, that they would prioritize schools that they play by public schools. And then the next tier would be out-of-state schools and private schools.
Is there a second?
Do we have a second? Do we want,
I guess I'm confused.
well, if you get a second, then we vote on it.
and we can still
I
discuss it.
understand.
Yeah.
We'll just do
Second.
until-
A second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Discussion.
yeah, wait, no, let's
Isn't,
discuss it.
isn't this what we already do?
So
So
why
that's
do
where
we need
I'm
a motion?
confused,
Yeah.
like why we have to create something different than what we're already doing.
Because we're hearing from people that we're doing different things.
Then we just need to give the right directive, in my opinion, and it's not really a motion. I mean,
Then how does the board give the right direction if they don't do it by voting?
well, we just reinforce what's being done in other sports.
But that's not the board taking a position, that's people talking. We've gotten in trouble with that before.
I mean, I think it's just like if any, not saying, just a reminder of what your options are with your job. I think with any description that your job would include, like, you know, my boss would be like, you needed maybe don't forget you can do this or something like that. And I feel like that is where we're at. And if they already, there's nothing in policy that says that they can't go across state lines or to schedule with a private school. I feel like we just be like, hey, Ty, Bierman tells Ty, you've got permission to, or not permission, but, this is the avenue that, is kind of already outlined. It just seems,
Except it's not happening that way.
but I don't, does that require like a new action? That was my
If you
question.
want to change things, it does.
But if it's not, doesn't need to be changed, if it's already allowed, we're not changing
It's
anything.
not happening.
But just
Then
because it's
stop
not
it.
happening doesn't mean that it's not allowed.
It's not happening for a reason.
What would that reason be? Maybe that
People
Ty
don't
wasn't
want to
aware.
play private schools. I mean, we've heard that. We've heard two different versions of what's going on. We don't want to play private schools, but yet at times we do.
Well, I mean, I think it's a last resort. I mean, there is definitely some hypocrisy that floats around saying, let's play a private school when I don't know, I think the good majority of us were at the last football game and that was clearly a problem. Now I realize that we're playing soccer and so we have a smaller pool, but it does feel a little hypocrisy. I don't know what the word is there, to say, yeah, let's go ahead and like schedule private schools, like without.
But let me ask
thought
you
about
this. It was said, this is what we do. There's a motion and a second to do what we said we were doing. Give clear direction to staff that this is what we do. The board supports that and we vote on it. I don't understand.
We're just asking questions. I'm
Yeah.
just asking for clarification of why we would need a motion on something that there's not a rule against it as it is. I'm just asking for clarification.
Well, last year we had men's soccer team playing Blue Valley. 20 minutes left in the game. It's 8-0. They got throttled. And at that time, the word was, we're not going to play private school. So there's a resistance here. We've heard it tonight of playing private schools. We're lumping the big four private schools or big five that recruit, win state championships. I think the last 10 state championships in 4A have been in private schools, 3 out of the 4, 4 out of the 4 in the finals. But then we're taking that, what we don't like about that, saying, okay, now we've got to drive to Independence, Kansas, 2 hours and 10 minutes, down 169 highway, when we have the chance of picking up a local game with a private school. So all we're saying is, it's okay to make a private school an option. The board supports that. So, and that's where I'm at.
I guess I just keep going back to it. There's nothing that says that we can't do that, and in my opinion, I mean, Ty is sitting right here. We're all sitting right here. It's on video. Mr. Fawn and Steele, here's what, as a board, we'd like to see happen. I mean, I guess I don't see that needs to be a motion. If you're convinced that it does, then fine, we vote on it, but that's not how we have always done everything.
If you vote, it almost sounds like you're saying you need to do this. I don't know. But if there is a motion, it means.
There's a motion and a second, we're in discussion, and then there'll be a vote after we're done with discussion.
I think, just kind of like what the motion was, we obviously have how we do it, right? We currently do it, we prioritize public schools, right? In the past, we went across state lines and that's been our last. Now, obviously, I think this would be just reinforcing how we do it. It's a motion and the second on the table. I mean, this is how we do it and we're all good with that moving forward, then that's how you vote. Or you say no, I don't, and
If you vote no, it's the same thing still out there. I mean, he can still do schedule. And if you vote, I mean, it's kind of the same whether you vote yes or no.
And I just
In my
mentioned,
opinion, I don't
not
know.
in soccer,
Yeah.
but two other sports where this has just recently happened. They do come to me, and so Ty shared, the basketball, that we needed to schedule the Topeka Metro. We allowed that, because we have to have games for our kids. And then this year, the private schools, because of sub-varsity for, I don't know if it was not Baldwin, but we had several. We played St. James and someone else. We even played Washburn Rural, a 6A school, but to find games for our sub-varsity. So on those, they come to me, and when they have shared, they've exhausted, I don't believe I've ever stood in their way and said, heck no to that. So they went through that process, and, we haven't had that conversation in soccer. It's now come up now that, and Ty sent me the email, Heritage Christian's AD he sent it to the listserv, so he sent it to all ADs saying, hey, we need some games, and so Ty sent that to me. And so my instruction to Ty was, have we looked at all public school options before we do that?
I mean, I think continuing to let our administration use, good judgment as to what is, best for
Yeah,
the
'cause we don't
kids.
wanna replace, we don't wanna play Blue Valley in the first place, like everybody said. We don't wanna replace them with a Miege, St. James, St. Tom, we don't wanna replace them with that. We can find somebody that's, closer to our competition, which is kinda hard to tell with a private school. I mean, they could be loaded one year and we get beat by a 1A private school or 2A. I mean, the kids are gonna probably feel pretty bad about that too. So I'd just use your best discretion. I mean,
Right.
I just went back through our schedule over the last 10 years. And in 2021, we had a really good men's soccer team. I don't know if we were the number 1 seed or the number 2, but Miege had a crappy record. Guess who we got to play in the playoffs?
Same as football.
Same as football.
Same as football.
Not
You really don't have any control because, because what happens, first game out the gate, we gotta play Miege, get knocked off.
Well, they played all 5A and 6A.
And they played all 5A and 6A.
What, 3 and 3?
So there's no guarantees in 4A, there's no guarantees because you got these outliers like Bishop Miege. I mean, it could be Heritage Christian. I mean, I looked up the boys. I mean, there's in our classification, it's not just Miege, it's Heritage Christian, it's what's the
St.
you got
James.
Topeka Hayden, you got Kansas City Christian that have won, the state championship. But it's almost always a private school. I don't have any problem if we want to give leeway. I don't know, if we pass this, if it's going to change anything. Ty still has the ability to do it. So if we want to take this to a vote, that's fine. I mean, we're obviously going to, because there's a motion and a second, so.
I mean, when we run into these situations, obviously, guys working with Bierman and Hickman to figure it out. It's not like we just have a given carte blanche. We're not gonna play 6 private schools next year. The next 2 years, I don't think that's the goal of it all. The goal is to build the best schedule we can.
I mean, I looked up the schools that, and I don't have it written down here, but the schools in our league that played private schools, and I think you had it, didn't you, Brian?
Yeah.
The record against them was abysmal.
The teams we beat this year, when they played private schools, were 2-11-1. Now Baldwin went they beat, including Miege in the 3rd place. I think they won 5. Our top 3 teams were Eudora, Baldwin, and Tommy maybe. And so they did okay against those schools, but we didn't beat those schools. So that's the schools we actually are beating. They did not compete well against those. So it shows me, if they were beating the private schools, then I guess, potentially we fare well.
Yeah, I guess I just feel if it passes, we're saying this is what we need to do. It's like it's almost a must try to get these private schools.
I think
Well,
the
I mean,
motion was that
he's saying last
private
resort.
school's the
I mean,
last
we're doing-
resort.
we're
I think the
doing-
motion,
The motion
private
was,
school's the last resort.
right.
So it should,
I'm ready to bring it to a vote, unless somebody else got anything to say.
Will you read the motion again?
It basically was saying that your AD has permission to start with public schools and then out-of-state schools, and then it would be private schools
in that
to look
order.
for games. Foot,
Yes,
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
No,
Studeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay. Action items. 5.1 district mechanical update.
Okay, a couple of things, and I know you guys requested these, or in talking to Jim, so before we get to the motion and the meat and potatoes of this one, just wanted to review some things with the board. Yeah, sorry, they're big, but they want to squeeze it on, 8.5 by 11. So the first is the capital outlay budget. So as you guys know, we work on budget with budgetary amounts in every fund. There are best guesstimates with the budget authority that we have. And then we monitor these. Katie and I meet throughout the year. Probably one of the bigger ones is capital outlay because of the ebb and flows of what mechanical issue or what mower or different things flow. So what you see there are some projects that I had shared with you as we were setting this budget and capital outlay. So you've seen this document before, budgeted amounts, and then depending on where we're at in those projects. So the first is still original flooring at Rockville. And so I budgeted $250,000 you see there for new to replace the flooring, the tile there. Commercial floor works, they're on a state contract price, but Brett Brandon doesn't quite have the contracted price. He's given me this year's price. If we were able to get that, you know, the price was about 115 to 120. So I'm pretty safe by, you know, he thinks about 5%. So that 135 is probably pretty close on there. But that's not a definite, and you haven't approved that number yet.
And that would be done over the summer.
Yes, but out of this fiscal year. The mechanical updates, which will be ultimately coming up in a motion, I budgeted 450, 314,910, and that is in the board packet, the RFP that we received back from Design Mechanical. With that, and it's in the 10-year plan, there are controls, so we work with Control Service Contracting, CSC. I was working with Jeff Daniels with that. He worked for CSC, but Design Mechanical, Ted Traeger, and his boss Bill Eiler, Mike Seiferling, and that they need to come down and take a look at some of those things. So I didn't want to put anything in front of you tonight before I had that. The next two are just routine maintenance items that we need to do, or instead of recoating and restriping and sealing, we'll be replacing. And so one is the track. The track needs to be recoated and restriped. If you do that, you can get a lot longer out of a track. If you don't do that, and just let your track deteriorate, then you're replacing the track. So we did bid that out. McConnell is on a TIPS contract, and so we do have that approved. You know, we don't know exactly when we'll get that done. Whether they can squeeze it in before track season. They can't do that in the middle of winter. So if for some reason we had a really warm coming out of winter, and you know they could do it at spring break, they need about a week to do that.
Real quick,
Yes.
Brian, on the RFP, would that would be done in the summer also?
The mechanical, yes. It would be June and July, but it would be, that number would be paid out this fiscal year. Seal coat parking lots. So I'm meeting with Complete Pavement. He's out of paving. He's out of Spring Hill. Not that he's going to get the work, but I'm meeting with him on Monday he's going to help me square footage type. I mean, obviously I'm not a seal coat guy, and we've used them a lot. But we will create an RFP that'll go out in January. I have 100,000 there. I don't know how much it's gonna cost to seal the parking lots, but, we will stop there. So if it's, 150,000, we'll only do 100,000 and we'll do the rest seal coating our parking lots the following year. On a bus, we are waiting on a state contract price for Midwest Bus Sales. And now committed to buying our buses with air. And so that we are actually now needing to look at our two flat noses, our activity buses. They don't have air. But Thomas buses built in High Point, North Carolina, they're kind of backlogged on the activity buses. Those flat noses are 83 passengers. Now, when we say 83 passengers or 77 or 71, that's what we did today when we put 3 kindergartners in a seat from Rockville to the high school. We don't put 3 football players to a seat. And so when you hear those ratings on buses, that's 3 bottoms, not 2 bottoms. But we never do that for even going to the zoo, and things like that. So most of our route buses you see, so with the noses, those are called C2s. Those are rated at 71 passengers. But then one more seat gets us those 77s. So waiting on that.
When would we take, probably wouldn't
That
get
will
that
be,
till August?
yeah, but we would order it now. So waiting for Chris Brady, the sales guy from Midwest Bus Sales, to get that. But I said, I'd like a pretty good estimate to take the board, so he's thinking about that 170,000.
And it would come out of this year's.
This year's. Yep, everything you see on there would be this year. I had done tractor and mower for 60. We did purchase a brand new Kubota tractor from here in town with a bucket. That's what it cost, $30,722.15. The mower, we were actually, as we closed the books last year, that was an open PO that Katie closed. And so the mower, we did buy a new mower, a grasshopper, but that was paid out of last year. Technology.
And we have the Kubota now?
We do. Yep, it's studying in what we call D-building, the old ag shop at the middle school. Technology, I'm meeting with K-12 soon to kind of identify some of our bigger needs. Richard even had on his list new staff laptops, so I know that's one. We've been having some concerns with the middle school computer labs, so that would be computers on there twice. That'd be Mrs. Talley, Mrs. Hesser's labs. I think those are pretty old machines. And then new document cameras, we kind of call them Elmos, but they're really, when we were in school, the transparency projectors, well, those are gone, but now you can put a document, it just would portray this document. And so, but I'm meeting with them and William back there to kind of identify our needs. So we haven't spent any of that money yet. And if it would go over that dollar figure you see there, we would just push some of those expenses into next year's budget as well. The board approved, as we went through capital outlay, to put maintenance salaries into capital outlay. And so that's expenses to date. So that'll change on the next payroll, which is November 20th. Equipment, furniture, expenses to date. LMS, LHS activities, that'll obviously go up a lot as Ty starts, I think football's actually up for new uniforms, so that's always the most expensive sport when that one comes up, or conditioning helmets, shoulder pads, very expensive.
Those first two for sure will hit the budgeted amount, right?
Yes.
The third one is probably gonna be pretty close.
Yeah. The maintenance salary will hit that one. Equipment,
Right.
furniture potentially won't, depending on what the schools need. We have tried, we worked a lot now kind of at the high school, getting Dr. Manley some new student desk and chairs. We tackled, I think, the English and social studies wing, but there's still a lot more teachers. So we'll continue to work on that, which I know they're very appreciative of that as well. School improvements. So I've listed, and just so, expense to date and what are in there, audio lights at the stadium, hopefully Mr. Worthington didn't below those. Gyms, we're getting new things, auditorium, new lighting, so we've been working with Allison and Topher on that, some cameras, some bells, some intercoms, some ethernet, so I just kind of had Katie pull in skyward, so you kind of know what was encompassing what you see there. Some things hanging out there. We've discussed the high school gym bleachers. I'll bring that to you in December. Soccer bleachers, Heartland seating, as that was discussed, we were talking about the high school gym bleachers, and I do know there would be a need for that. Where I see the best is if, soccer stadium, the bleachers are down low and we have, the shed that Troy Stout's class years ago built and so we turned it into the scoreboard, the scores table. But you can't just put bleachers right to the left and right of that because then sight lines are gone. And so, and I think the best, and we were working with Heartland Seating, Brad Peterson today, Doug and I, is if you would walk down the sidewalk, go around the shed and keep going, the sidewalk ends, but we could put a set of bleachers down there. And even, so that would be kind of on the south end, but they would still have sight lines and they wouldn't hit that shed or the scorer's announcer station, even looking to the north as well. So, I'm working on that, getting you some pricing for that. The LHS science greenhouse, not the greenhouse, but the science greenhouse. So when you drive into what I call the horseshoe, the science greenhouse right there, it's not used as a greenhouse. We don't even use it. But the windows and the roof, so the structure's not going to come down, but we had Hollis Miller down last week to help MKC with the baseball and softball field. So I had Megan Barnes, our lead architect, take a look at that, and she's getting me some specs and RFP. We are going to need, if you're ever up there, go up and look at the windows. The windows need to be replaced, and the roofing material needs to be replaced too. So we'll probably be taking out all those windows and putting in new windows, and probably a metal roof across there. Because it's just
Brian,
Yeah.
there's also, I was reading in what you sent us on our email.
Yeah.
What's this replace weight room York rooftop unit? What exactly?
that's in this 314,910.
Oh,
That was identified mechanical, but that is the RTU, the rooftop unit on top of the middle school area. So
Oh,
it's
okay, I thought it was under the high school.
No, so it's 32 years old.
Cause I was wondering, we just redid that,
Yeah.
how we just built that,
Yeah.
okay, so
I
that's
have
what it
a
is.
quick question before we move on
Yeah.
to that. On the science greenhouse, do they not use it because it's not in good shape, or do they just not utilize it? Do we need to figure out something different
wanna-
for that?
I don't necessarily have the answer to that. I know they don't use it. I don't think it's because it leaks or anything. I mean, obviously, Mr. Morgan does all the greenhouse science courses. But it has not been used since I've been here. It's really just been used as storage. I do plan on visiting with those 4 science teachers and making sure I don't want to do anything that's, contradicted to their, even hopes. Right now, I could say you're not using it, let's do it, but I don't want to do that. I mean, definitely new windows, but right now it has that more, the light comes in with the roof, and it is deteriorated after 22 years. But do we put that new up? Because we put a metal roof on there, and it'll look nice, but the sun's not going to be able to come in. So I do want to visit with Bernadette and Drew and Jordan and Brian Myers and make sure that we're on the right thing. But I don't know, Dr. Van Leen, do you have anything to add on that? Have you talked to them?
I haven't talked to them specifically,
Okay.
I know like sometimes they'll have things taped to the window, and intrusive feeds and different things in there. All of their equipment is on that inside, so like you said, storage, the chemicals are back there, lab coats, goggles, all the things that they need, tools and apparatuses. Got lots of cabinetry and space back there. So the window unit though is not used as it probably was a long time ago, just because of what we grew over in the ag department.
And it honestly is a sore thumb. Next time you drive up the horseshoe, take a look. The windows, when you get condensation in the window, the windows are all like almost grayed, and the window sills, everything. In fact, I didn't know it was that bad until I got right up. Sometimes I'll mow and weed eat around it, but I really never looked. But the windows are in very poor shape. But it's nothing. It's their 22, 23-year-old windows that are in the direct sun every day. So no different if your house was that way. So that is just something recently that I've added that I wanted you guys to be aware of. Once again, depending on how this budget flows, that can be, even though we do it this summer, that can be a July 1st, which will be next fiscal year budget. So
Because I'm thinking, that school improvements line, 320, and aren't the bleachers gonna cost us about 200,000?
Yes.
So we're knocking on on that door pretty.
But remember, but that's why I
Right.
show it, and yes, you're exactly right. But then if you look at the other ones above, there's been significant savings. So just take the flooring at Rockville, that's half the.
Sure,
budget
yeah,
amount.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know when you look at it overall,
Yeah.
absolutely, but I'm just in that one particular,
Yes, and once again, the gym bleachers, even though the board approves to do those, we could do those out of next fiscal year, as well.
Well,
And then-
after sitting on them for, I don't know how many hours today, several hours it was a great concert. I
Yeah.
mean,
But your rear was a little. sore.
I was super happy to be sitting at both concerts with the backrest. Sure, I wasn't lucky the first,
Oh, I got,
the first one you
Yeah.
did? too? Oh, okay.
I just made sure I did it the second one.
Well, the ones that we're looking at too, they have the molded seats too.
They do the molded. they go
Which are
in,
even, they're, it's
probably
better.
like what you said on when you go see a lot of those
Yeah.
KCAC schools, probably have those. And then in the repair contracts, those continue, so just some of them I've listed, not all, but, Apple, Updike, which they do a lot of our paving, complete payment is that we did some of the seal work, at Broadmoor, that's a company out of Spring Hill, Design Mechanical, Schwickard Roofing. So, those are just some that have accrued to that amount as well, so. We, like I said, we continue to update this, and look at this, but definitely there's a lot of ebb and flows, just no different than your house or business. You don't know what's gonna go out, but you definitely ability and authority to do that. And then before we turn the page, if you look, just, you know, what, just a reminder what 1 mil was, the 8 mils, of course, we know we got socked with state aid. I lost 12% of state aid, so 4% state aid only brings in 72,000. So we have less budget, we have less money in capital outlay this year, even though our self-valuation went up because we lost state aid. So our revenue is about 1.87. Last year it was in the 1.9 something. We went with a lower mill rate because we had that, but I think our state aid went from like 280, 290,000 to that 72,000. So estimated capital outlay, July 1st cash balance, we had said 175. And tonight, and that it was, so we said 1750. This is how good Katie is. Actual audit is 1753774. So she missed it by 3,000, but out of 1.75, well, but actually it's higher. It's which is good. Always maybe budget low and then find a little bit more.
You know, we talked about the bleachers for the soccer stadium. We might look at trying to separate the visitors from the home side. I think it's a little rowdy at times.
I know my administrators sometimes share that, especially if we don't always have a visiting admin. I know that then they're dealing with those fans and it's because they don't have a visiting admin.
I like the idea that you're putting it up on by the grade of the sidewalk that goes down through there and not down low by the field. That's
So maybe if we put them there, and I'll have more detailed information for that, we can just say, you know, we can just put signage and that's the visitor section. But I'll get that.
Okay.
So budgeted capital outlay expense, so that 2275, and then if we would spend all that, which, you know, that's never the plan, but we want to have budget authority to do that. Actually, I believe when you approve the budget, you approve budget authority for 2.5 million. Katie always puts in a little less just to keep us under that. But I believe when we published the budget, it was 2.5 in capital outlay. If we spend 2.275, we would have, you know, a lower cash balance than we've had in a while for capital outlay. But that's okay. Share that. And then the next few pages, and there's a lot in here, but this is the these next four, and front to back, because what you have really, where front to back goes like, I mean, it's a long document. And so if I could have got it on one page, I would have, but I just wasn't able to. But this was the big 10-year mechanical plan. We had a lot of our partners look at this. So our civil engineers, our architects, our mechanical engineers, I would say our own staff, and then Design Mechanical, who does a lot of this, there's electrical work, I mean, we used our partners there as well. Put this together, they had an estimated cost, with an escalating factor, for inflation in there. And so, a lot of times I know you guys are referencing the 10-year plan with mechanical, this is the item. Things do, continue to, go on here. Not as big of items, but every year I meet with that team and they'll share, hey, this has come up or whatever the case may be. An easier document to look at if you go through there would be the one that's color coded like this. So this document here. What I've done is then kind of simplified it. I didn't put any new things on here that weren't on those 4 pages, but this shows you, because we now, after you approve, you're approving yellow tonight. So we've done the darker blue, and then we did the salmon color, the lighter blue, and then that. And then you can see the items that continue, and those were on there as well. So in the RFP that Mrs. Yoder put in there that we received back, you'll see it was broken down into 3 different projects. So the first one was at Louisburg High School. It was exhaust fans, and so you can see those in yellow. And so that is to replace exhaust fans. So exhaust fans are for a lot of different things. They're for the restroom, they're for HVAC, they're for kitchens, so they're throughout the building. So it'd be 20 of those. They even listed the specs and what they are, green heck models and all that stuff that you probably don't care about. So that one came to $51,955. Those are all original in there. The project 2 was the middle school, and in the middle school, this is what Lanny was referencing, the weight room York rooftop unit, their RTU, and we actually had an alternate, because we have a lot of Aon units now. In fact, the units out here, as you walk in, those 2 silver units up there are Aon. BCS, Building Control Services, asked us if we would allow to bid Aon, and so we did, and so we got bid quotes for both a York and an Aon. The issue with Aon, nothing with the unit, but York will fit on, so when you get up on the roof, there's what's called, you got the flat roof and then you have curbs and curb adapters. Well, those curb adapters were built for the York unit, and the York unit will fit on there. When you put a different unit, trained Aon, you're gonna have to change that. And so, for example, on project 2, to do the York was $82,965, to do the Aon was $97,990.
What's the reasoning for ask for the Aon? Is it a better product, or is it,
Well,
there's
they would claim so, just like any one would, but we work with Building Control Services a lot, and so I knew, and talking to Bill Eiler, who runs the Design Mechanical, and Ted Traeger, they also, not unit to unit, maybe would have been about the same, but the added cost of about $15,000, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see right there with the bid quotes that came in. I assume that 15,000 is mostly just to make that Aon fit on there as well. So is our recommendation, and the partners, maybe not BCS, but they're obviously not one of the partners that helped put this together, that go back with that new York unit. Also at the middle school would be 10 exhaust fans, and then the middle school tech lab.
Question,
I'm sorry.
is that in bathrooms, I'm assuming?
Exhaust fans are not bathrooms, they can be, but they're also in areas like kitchens, so. that
But we
would-
just redid the kitchen, did we not?
Oh, so at the middle school, yes. Well, but kitchen hood and exhaust fans, so. But it says both kitchen exhaust fans and hallway, so. Maybe we didn't replace up on top, we, got it
Up
in the
above.
kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. You're talking about up,
They're on the
where
roof,
actually.
yes.
exits
So when
on the
they
roof.
turn on, that opens up, it's taking any types of,
Right.
fumes out that.
We put all new stuff in the kitchen and it wasn't up on the
Yes.
roof that we replaced.
And then the tech lab at the middle school, so kind of our wood shop, that was never designed for that, as you guys know, that, you know, that was a high school from 92 to 02. It's a great wood shop. I'm glad we have that at the middle school for our kids, but we need to get some better exhaust in there. Doug and his crew, and even the middle school staff have shared their concerns that we got a lot of dust and fumes in there, and we need to get that out of there for the middle school. So that's what it's showing up there that they will do in that middle school tech lab. Got 3 holes. They'll put in some exhaust fans. Nothing as extensive as we know we had conversations about with the high school room. You know, we put in that big mammoth unit that now will keep those doors closed when they're welding and everything else. But a little bit like that. We just need to make sure the air quality is as good when they're doing that as when they're sitting in an ELA or math classroom as well.
Well,
So,
part of that in the high school was for security
Safety.
too, so
Yes.
keep the door shut.
because like that room I'm talking about, it actually has a garage door, but that has been welded shut, that garage door, and this area we're talking about can't open anymore. And then at Rockville, that we've had, you know, that's our newest building, but new flies by, and so the bond was in 06, so depending on when they put that RTU up there, at the latest it was 08, but that RTU might have been set in 07. So it's anywhere from 16 to 17 years old. It's above the office area, and we've just had the most issues with it. And it's no different how we start strategizing and thinking about how we're replacing buses. I mean, you just can't sit back and then you need to replace 20 of them. We just have had issues with that RTU. So once again, BCS asked us, hey, can we bid that? And if you scroll to the bottom, you can see it wasn't a big difference, but still $5,000 difference if we would have put an A on at Rockville instead of a York unit. And then the other part, as you can see right up there, are 3 domestic hot water heaters that they'll put 2 of these Camus models and then 1 Lochinvar up there as well. So a large chunk is going to Rockville on this one, but it is time that we need to start making sure we're just not, you know, for many years, you can probably say, well, Rockville's our new building. It still is, but eventually we got to take care of it as well. And so, because with the bond issue, we took care of this building, we took care of Broadmoor, we took care of some of the other buildings as well. And so we got to continue to do this. And, you know, I've heard Mr. Foote say that, and I think we all agree around that, we don't want another bond issue. And so this is where districts can get caught, where you defer maintenance, and then pretty soon, instead of 1 York unit, you're saying we need to replace 10 or 20, and you can't afford it without a bond issue. So, and it's not that we're just junking a bad one, but it is the one that we've had a lot of issues. We have a lot of, you know, if you go back to that budget where we're paying design to come out, or Mike Siphon's time, this is one that's identified. Not saying we'll need to replace one next year, but we'll continue to identify, you know, what would be the next one to go as well. So, so if you add up the 184,515 you see there, the 51,955 from the first one, and then the 82,965, you get the motion amount, or the recommended motion amount of 314,910. And then before you,
And that's everything in the yellow.
that's everything in the yellow. And then you can see, you know, I don't know exactly yet what I'll bring to you in the rest of it, because, I mean, the great thing is, I mean, obviously Mike Seifeling's been everywhere in the district for many years, and I appreciate it. Ted Tragerser, even though he works for design, Louisburg grad, you know, cares deeply about us. And so I meet with them, and you can see, you know, even though some of those other professionals put this together, you can see some of my notes in white. It's okay, just replace when fails. Well, they said replace that third one. Well, we rebuilt that one, so maybe we don't need to. You can see they're already saying, yeah, Brian, you probably need to replace in 2026 the chilled water pumps at the middle school. One, you see the boiler, well, we just don't use that boiler a lot at the high school, so maybe don't need to. So I do appreciate all the insight, because I'm not an expert in any of this, but that they do bring, they're not just trying to sell, but I do think we're keeping ahead of this. And then this will need to be considered as we move forward with whatever that the baseball, softball complex potentially looks like, because you can see a big chunk is going to this, but, you know, is there availability that we don't have to take as big a bite for a year? Not ever, but, you know, where you saw the top one at 450, that can be a lot lower for a couple of years. Because, and then we can divert some money to that. Out in the baseball, softball, met with our partners last week, MKC and Hollis and Miller, after our conversations in here. They're now putting together some specs, some rough estimates. I'll bring those to you. I asked them if they could have those by December 9th, so you can kind of look at that. And then ultimately getting that so we can send out as an RFP, a hard bid, and see what our numbers come in at. Trying to give our kids the best facilities at a reasonable cost. And so with that said, I think, and see if you guys agree, but I think it would behoove us to put, you know, potential baseball and softball field on the north side of Wildcat Drive. So west of the high school and south of the middle school, there's land in there. By doing that, several things. One, it's a lot flatter in that area than on the south side. Two, we can use existing things that we've already built. For one, parking lot. We don't need to build a parking lot. We have the staff parking lot that'll be empty after school, and the big middle school parking lot. Concession stands, restrooms. We can just have folks walk into the middle school and use the concession stand or restroom that you go and Jennifer works, you know, for those games as well. And, you know, that concession stand restroom that we built for the soccer stadium, I'm guessing if we built that in today's dollars, it'd be just that, it would be over $1 million, you know, in parking lots. Things just, you know, add up quickly. So if we can get our kids what they need, which is a baseball and softball field, and not, you know, have to spend some of our money on those other items. And then still, you know, look at our two existing fields and what we need down there. What we have to have at those two fields that are already there to play on them, it would be, we don't have any bleachers. Well, we'd have to have ADA access. So right now we'd have, you know, sidewalks, because you can walk down there, but we'd have to make sure anyone can get down to those fields. So ADA access, we'd have to have bleachers and dugouts. A couple alternates down there could be a scoreboard. I mean, it's not that we don't need to keep score, but we could keep score potentially with just a flip, you know, book like we have in PE, you know, and lights. In fact, we go some places where sub-varsity either starts a little early or they just play till dark. And usually that's your March and early April. By May, you can play both games usually. It stays lighter. But then those two fields on the north side, and if we build them there, so it's kind of, you know, where the band practice field is, but then the band could still practice on the outfield of the baseball field, so we wouldn't be taking that area away. Soccer, football could practice out there as well. So, and there's definitely the space in there as well. So we can put them on the other side, but that would be coming with a bigger price tag for sure on the south side.
Yeah, they're moving a lot of dirt.
A lot of dirt, a lot of drainage issues. It's just pretty woolly in that area. So, so stay tuned, but I just wanted to share that as well. So,
It's hard to believe they would both fit there.
I know that's not in my head.
oh,
I'm
definitely
like,
they will.
They,
Yeah.
yeah, what Brian showed me, they'll fit pretty nice.
And the baseball, Cade, you know, and he would like, so 330 down the end and then 375 in the middle. That's a pretty typical size. And baseball, and we would build it from like Kauffman Stadium. So it needs to go to the northeast, the batters do, pitching to the southwest. And then softball, most softball fields are almost 200 all the way around. We might go 200 and then 210 dead center. Talking to Nick Chapman, but that's how big a softball field is.
How many houses are along that?
Well, no, this would just, you know, be by Prettyman's house. It's on the middle school side, just.
Right, I know, and there are a couple houses right there.
Just pretty much.
Just Prettyman.
And we would stay as far away from them as possible. We want to definitely be a good neighbor. In fact, we could build a softball where the little tiny field is. I would actually like, if we can, keep that field, because then that's just another field, and you as parents and grandparents probably have sat at that field and had some t-ball games, so the more fields we can have in our community, the better. So if we don't have to get rid of that little field,
So middle school would be your feeder for your parking?
middle school or that staff parking lot between the middle school and high school, which is quite large. It's full during school day, but it's not. In fact, now, we used to park a lot of our school vehicles there, our vans, but now we put those at Broadmoor. So Cindy Conrady checks those in and out for staff. So if you went around Broadmoor and you see those sitting there, we made that move over the summer, which then freed that parking lot up even more. So just wanted to share that as well. But anything on the budget to the mechanical that you either need clarity or more information?
You need a motion.
Eventually, yeah, and then that will be for that. The second, I did have a recommended motion was for the controls, and I'm just not ready to provide that tonight, so that'll be in December. It'll be for, and the district's invested a lot in controls, and we just have to continue. I mean, no different. We came in here, we were cold, and I was able to text Mr. Key, and now the room is warm.
Actually comfortable.
Yeah, and, but it's just not that. I mean, we know, right away if a boiler's getting too hot or too cold, if an exhaust fan's not working, if we have too much CO2 in a classroom. I mean, very beneficial and important things, for our students and our staff. And so yes, controls come with a cost, but if you put in all this and then have no control, things can break. And so I think we avoid a lot of maintenance costs by having good controls in there too. But I also don't want to overdo that, so that's why we need those meetings, and then I'll bring that to you. So the only recommended motion tonight would be that first one that you see in front of you.
I move to approve the district mechanic updates to Design Mechanical Inc. in the amount of $314,910.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the district mechanical updates to Design Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $314,910. Is there any further discussion?
Foot,
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Sudeville,
Yes.
and Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'm gonna move, we go have a recess for 5 minutes and we return to the boardroom at 7:40.
Becoming
Yeah.
Or we recess because we have to make it.
Come back in here.
Who's the second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to take recess till 7:40. Is there any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Dr. Bierman, the next time you're in Overland Park near our office, come by and I'll give you a box of legal size paper. I have a huge
Maybe
box.
bigger than
full of
that.
it.
Just laptop.
Okay, it's 7:40. We back on air? Okay, I move we go into executive session with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, high school principal, and high school assistant principal to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:00.
I second it.
So moved and seconded to go into executive session. Is there further discussion?
But
Yes.
Apple,
Yes.
Bose.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Studeville,
Yes.
Tisdale,
Yes.
Goodman. Yes, motion passed.
My office.
I move we go back into executive session with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, high school principal, and high school assistant principal to discuss confidential student information pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:10. The moved and seconded to go back into executive session. Is there any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Yeah, it works out.
Still, you know. Get to something.
Okay, I move we go into executive session with the superintendent to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:45.
Second.
So moved and seconded to go into executive session. Any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
We went to PKs afterwards
Where's this at?
I didn't know.
to the city.
I move we go back into executive session with the superintendent to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9:00.
9:00.
I second it.
We moved and seconded to go back into executive session. Any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
You can't oppose, all right?
Okay, announcements. The next regular board meeting will be December 9th, 2024, 6 p.m. I move to adjourn the November 11th, 2024 regular Board of Education meeting at 9:03.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the board meeting. Is there any further discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other opposed? Motion passed.
Well, I think you guys, really appreciate it.